After witnessing the Marvel Universe come to life on the big screen in various iterations, it was up to game developers to match their filmmaking counterparts in creating something worthwhile to play. The success of PS4 exclusive Marvel Spider-Man gave way to talk about what other Marvel franchises would make for a great video game experience. Square Enix soon announced that they, alongside developer Crystal Dynamics, were working on an Avengers game that wouldn't just be something a person would play, finish the story, and put down, promising to boost the multiplayer-centric experience, with more missions, bosses, and loot than someone can shake their elastic fist at. After playing the rather bare-bones beta, I found myself disappointed, hoping that the full game offered a lot more than mundane multiplayer missions and lacking character development. Though the game's focus is having players team up while playing as one of the 6 superpowered heroes, Captain America, Black Widow, the Incredible Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, and Ms. Marvel, in various though similar missions with the hope of gaining copious loot and gear. There is a story available for completion. After a little over 10 hours, I completed the rather entertaining story, with a focus on newly minted Avenger Kamala Ms. Marvel Khan, being the focus early on as she attempts to reunite the quintet of heroes after they fall out of the public's good favor. Thanks to the game's nature and the post-game Avengers Initiative mode, Avengers offers more to do than just the story mode, with dozens of multiplayer missions available alongside a roadmap for future updates including characters and narrative expansions. With the game constantly being updated, it's impossible to complete Avengers as of this time, though gaining full trophy or achievement completion should take at least 60 to 80 hours, with much grinding to level things such as reaching rank 25 in any faction working alongside the Avengers, like S.H.I.E.L.D., or freeing 100 prisoners. Marvel's Avengers offers the player an opportunity to bust up nameless humans and robots with strengths of each Avenger, though the base gameplay for everyone is basically the same. Players can mix light and heavy strikes with both having the ability to be charged by holding down their respective button. Charging heavy strikes is very important in combat, considering it can break an enemy's guard or shield. For a follow-up combo, certain characters like Captain America have charged heavy attacks that propel enemies for short combos. Thor and Iron Man also have the ability to fly, with the latter really utilizing flight to pick off enemies from afar thanks to his missiles or lasers. Ranged attacks also vary in presentation from character to character, with say Ms. Marvel's elastic fist not having the same effectiveness of Thor's hammer. Dodging and blocking are very important to master as the power levels grow due to enemies hitting a lot harder. Certain enemies flash yellow or red before executing an attack, with the latter being unblockable, and the player either having to roll or jump over the incoming assault. Yellow-colored or even non-colored attacks can be blocked. If the player can block right before the enemy hits their character, said Avenger will execute a parry for an immediate counterattack. Due to the hectic nature of fights and the amount of enemies on screen at a time, parrying can prove inconsistent. Though on the surface these characters definitely have differences, a majority of the battles boil down to mashing the strike buttons while periodically utilizing one of the 3 special abilities each character has. These special attacks range from Ms. Marvel's team healing support maneuver to the Hulk pulling off his thunderclap. Each upgradable special attack is so fun to use and see, but takes a long time to recharge upon use for the obvious reason the developers didn't want players abusing said attacks for easy fights. There are 2 major factors that expands the combat: gear and the skill tree. The skill tree allows for players to upgrade each character via skill points gained when the character levels up from slaughtering a great amount of enemies or completing missions and challenges. Though expansive, the skill tree isn't that daunting in terms of options, such as combo extenders for either light or heavy strikes, and even modifying how special attacks function. Gear is the basis of strength in this game, by using resources found from containers, dropped by enemies, bought from vendors, earned by completing faction mission challenges, such as beating up a certain amount of enemy types, and extracted from dismantled gear in the player's inventory. Gamers can upgrade whatever gear is equipped to each character. Depending on the mission selected, Players may need to improve equipped gear or grind for better gear with the intent of matching or surpassing the mission level requirement to avoid running the risk of a crushing defeat at the hands of enemies no different in presentation at level 5 as they were at level 50. Some gear has special perks, such as the Hawk's new fist bones allowing him to potentially irradiate an opponent. Gear isn't cosmetic in nature, just a physical depiction of numbers gained by equipping it in the menu. A majority of skins, extra takedowns, and even character-specific emotes can be attained through sheer grinding to earn in-game currency and gaining 5 character levels, or, not surprisingly, by purchasing hero challenge cards with real money. Though the game does give the player some cool skins by completing the story, a majority of the character skins or the impressive extras will never be seen by the player outside of the preview menu without spending actual money or way too many hours. Though certain aspects of the combat and even the loot system are disappointing, the story mostly isn't, with the early hours being some of the most fun. In the beta, Kamala Khan was presented as the Chosen One, who just so happens to befriend Bruce Banner after the fall of the Avengers following a catastrophic event. The actual full story presentation showcases a young woman who found power through superheroes before she becomes one herself due to an incident beyond her control. The early time spent with Kamala sees her realize how difficult it truly is to be a powered hero, while potentially losing everything she holds dear physically, emotionally, and even fictionally. Unfortunately, the story's latter half really peters out due to mission padding and some reunions feeling like they come out of nowhere after Iron Man is reintroduced. Thor literally returns to form via a fleeing crowd with no build, while dressed like he's a tour guide. There are also too few boss battles, with the first 2 of 5 happening in the first 2 hours and the other 2 being saved for the last pair of hours. The final mission is easily the most epic presentation point in the entire game, and what Avengers could have been if the focus was more on the narrative and not on the monotonous multiplayer missions meant for grinding. While some story missions have the same qualities of the multiplayer offerings, it isn't until entering Avengers Initiative that the player sees how unimaginative the mission objectives and settings are. The player or players will most likely start in a wooded area, abandoned city, Arctic tundra, or the Utah Badlands before reaching a laboratory where the Avengers will have to destroy something like a turbine or stand in a block so Jarvis can hack into the antagonist's server. In some cases, the scenarios mix and match the victory stipulations to extend missions without actually adding any true variety. The most unique missions, like fighting Taskmaster outside of the story, features characters being at a rather high level, instead of changing up their actual strategies. At release, the multiplayer mission presentation is lacking at best and monotonous at worst. Technically, the game is definitely rough. Trying to gain multiplayers via matchmaking can take a great amount of time, an issue associated with the beta as well. Thankfully, a majority of the multiplayer experience is solid with few to no disconnects, though matchmaking according to levels is non-existent. Performance issues are plentiful, with graphical and audio glitches occurring randomly, the game not registering checkpoints at times, and frequent frame rate drops during the most heated moments where a plethora of enemies are on screen at one time. Loading screens are ridiculously long, be it trying to load up a multiplayer game or reset a failed mission. Thankfully, hard crashes were non-existent on a base PS4, while losing connection to the server only happened when the game updated itself. Considering what's come before it, such as the PS4 exclusive Marvel Spider-Man or even the Arkham Batman games from the past 2 generations, expectations for Marvel's Avengers were high until the information of what the game truly is came to light. A grind-heavy multiplayer experience that has a fun, though all too short story, padded by the same type of missions players will inevitably take part in during Avengers Initiative. While not a bad game in the least, the idea of what this could have been and what it is leaves a lot to be desired as it is now. For those hoping for something similar to the PS4 Spider-Man game, will be sorely disappointed after the first 10 or so hours of playing Avengers. Instead, Avengers plays like a superpowered version of Destiny or Anthem, where the players are meant to jump into the world, beat up some repetitious enemies, stand in a single spot for several seconds to minutes, and test out the new gear gained from completing the previous mission. Players who aren't against the idea of a games as a service Avengers experience will mostly enjoy this offering once a majority of the free DLC expansions are released, or the complete Ultimate or Game of the Year edition is inevitably made for both current and next-gen systems as well as PC, though Spider-Man may still be exclusive to the PlayStation versions. Hopefully by the time that complete edition arrives, a majority of the gameplay issues will be ironed out, and feature more mission variety. No matter if you get it now, wait for a sale, or pick up the complete version when it arrives, it's hard to believe you'll fully be in awe with everything the game has to offer post-story, like a fangirl getting to be just like her heroes.
Please work fast, Jarvis.
Wait, aren't you gonna say the thing?
What?
You know, Avengers assemble.
Yeah, we don't really say that.
Just be cool, okay?